Alright, 2007 Polaris Outlaw 500 IRS rear CV boot replacement. There's two ways to do this. One, pulling off the CV assembly from inside there. And there's another way you can pull off this boot and CV assembly and then just slide the new boot up the shaft and put the snap ring in. Do it that way. So pull your tire off, 14 millimeter, well, factory anyways. You're gonna pull this cotter pin out, and then you are going to pull the axle nut off. I got a 27 mil. It moves about that much. I found 1/16 is pretty much identical. So whatever one you want to use, or a crescent wrench, whatever you got to do. Then you're gonna pull this guy off, the upper control arm or whatever it is, whatever it's called. You got 15 mil there, back that up, 15 mil, buzz that off, pull it up, tie it up out of your way. In gear. If your machine's ridden anything like mine, it's probably the same. These Polaris Outlaws with their shitty bushing setups are so loose. The metal sleeve in there, or possibly the plastic bushings are hooked in, and this won't pull out a bit. Won't pull out very good. So I'll probably have to do a little bit of prying until I can get that off. It just doesn't want to pop off of there. These all grooved into each other. Okay, got that bungeed up. Fold this down. The axle will slide up out of it. So I've definitely done the boot, taking off that side assembly. I'm gonna go for doing this side removal this time. Some guys say it's easier. I could imagine it might be because of that tiny snap ring that's way in there holding the ball bearings and stuff in. So we're gonna go ahead and remove this clamp. Pull the boot back. This is just snap ringed on, so you just give it a whack with the mallet and it should pop off. Vice grip squeezed on the two tabs there, and then I just took a pick and popped that off the hook. Try and do the same deal on this guy. Got the vice grips clamped on the two spots there. Just loosens up the hooks where it's latched in a little bit. And then I'll grab a little pick, flip it up, and she's released. Getting it on, that's another story. Peel this boot back. Somewhat hard to slide up, so I can't see that happening, but there's the inner race of the bearings. I'm going to try and hit it so that it pops off. There it goes. Yep. Grease in there isn't too bad, but it's never been changed on the lifetime of this thing, so it's a good idea. Do it that way, I can re-grease them. So now we're gonna pull this other boot off. Get under it with a pick or a screwdriver or something. Break it free. Try not to pull on the boot like that. You can see there's weather cracking in there, so try and pull at the back. Pry without stabbing a hole in it. There it goes. Look at that. Your little clip's gonna come off as well. So there, when you're hitting it with the hammer, this is just a compression clip sort of deal. It squeezes in. When you hit it with the hammer, that bearing race pops out over that. And the same thing for going back on, you just tap it back on and it compresses over and pops into a groove. Same deal, remove your clip. And then you're going to remove the C-clip in here that is holding the rubber boot in there. Just with the screwdriver and some picks, it pops out and then it all comes out. There, I just got it popped out with the screwdriver and it just pulls out really easy. Boot should come out. There it is, already ripped off the centerpiece, but pull that out, slide it over, pack your grease back in there, and slide your new one on. Now because I'm here already, and I've done it both ways before, I'm going to show you both ways. Got my axle just strapped up to the shock here to keep it up out of the way. There's a little snap ring in here. You want to find the brake in it. Find the brake in that snap ring and bring it down to where you can work with it. So there it is. There's the little gap there. So you got it semi-close. I put it just off of one of these grooves. So now I got the gap of that ring right in the groove, the ball bearing groove for the CV. And it's really hard to get out. So what I'm going to do is take this little Dremel tip, put a little deeper groove in the center of that dip there, and then when I rotate that snap ring around, it will give me better access with the picks to get up under it and pry it out of there, which is what they should have done from factory. I got my little groove cut in there. It's hard to see from here. Sorry if it's windy in the mic, but I will rotate that pin around. And then it's going to give me way better access. Like, look at that. It just pops out because you can get under it. And it ain't gonna hurt nothing because the ball bearings, they only ride on the inside part there. So that is the only thing keeping the axle. The ball bearings hit that and it does not allow the axle to come out. So pop that out. Now this axle, ball bearings, the races, they all will come out with the axle. You gotta be careful, the ball bearings can fall out unless that grease is holding them in there real good. But they can fall out when you pull it out. I may have to split this video up because we got one hell of a storm rolling in. I can feel the dirt in there. See what I mean about the ball bearings coming out? But once that snap ring's out, it just pulls out. And you can pick up your balls. Alright, so got the axle out, all the ball bearings are in a tub of brake clean. This axle looks identical on both ends, so it's a good idea to mark which end was out. It's possible they're reversible, but I ain't gonna risk it. So good idea, cover your ass. That little end knuckle, it bangs off with a rubber mallet just like this side did, which is the outer. So I'll bang that off. Probably use the rubber, but it's not working too good, so go in metal. There it is, popped off of it. Should pull the rest of the way out. Here it is. Pulled out of that little snap ring just like the other side. these fell apart, but you just put them back in. And you can see that it's sort of angled so that it goes over that snap ring. There's another reason it's good to pull the axle out like that. You can have a good look at your CV gear, I guess you'd call it. Mine's got some pretty good chips and quite the grooving from the ball bearings over the years. Honestly, this shouldn't even be put back in, but I think my whole rear carrier and everything's worn out, so I may just reassemble this, as bad as that is. It's only a matter of time before this thing fails. This is not too bad a shape. Alright, so since I took the whole axle out rather than doing what is called sometimes the easy way of pulling the outer boot off, knocking the CV end out, and then sliding the new boot up, installing it into the rear carrier, I re-greased this CV and then I'm putting these clamps back on. And if you've ever done those, you know it's the most frustrating clamp in the world. I'm sure there's a tool that hooks into those two spots and allows you to squeeze it. Anyways, I used the needle nose vice grip. This took me a while squeezing. If you can utilize a third person, huge help. But I managed to squeeze that enough. Got her in the vise, squeezing that, got the vice grips to lock, and just pushing down on these until they go in front of these little hooks. Then you just let go of the vice grips and they lock in there. But very hard by yourself. Got an eBay special kit. Got two boots for I think less than the price of one boot from the local quad shop off of eBay from that guy, I guess. But yeah, made in China. Probably won't last as long as the Polaris brand, but I mean, I feel like mine break because the quad sits and they bake in the sun anyways. Comes with the new snap ring and a new little clamp ring for there on the other side. Slide on your clip, slide on your boot, get her tightened up. I opted to use the old one because it has those two areas you can vice grip against to tension it up, whereas the one this kit came with, it just doesn't have anywhere to pry or to grip against. So either there's a different tool for this one or what, but it doesn't make sense to me. I don't like it. So you got the taper of the inner race, and then the outer race tapers in. So this is narrower this way, and there's the taper inside there to slide around that snap ring right there. Take that, put her on there. So a couple taps with a hammer, it's back on there. Push it the rest of the way till it snaps. There, it snapped on. Can't come off. I've already packed a bunch of grease in here, which you should probably wait till after. So, take the tube of grease. I always use a little bit extra of my own. After I cleaned it out, I'm gonna squirt a bunch in there. Put a bunch in here. It's messy. Put the ball bearings in. Just turn it until it gets in the right spot where they can actually seat in there. The bearings go in quite deep. Fresh grease will help them stick in there. You're just going to line it up with the grooves in there, turn it, and then push it in. Push it all the way in, squeeze some of that grease. For now, I'm just going to rest it here till we get that snap ring in there. So we got that little snap ring for the inner. Flop it over. It's a little bit easier if the axle's tied up like that. But I should be able to get it in just by hand. There she goes. Snapped in there. Greasy. Give it a little check. Hold against those rings. We're gonna fold the boot back in there. Seat it in its pocket. I like to just give it a few taps with the screwdriver. Make sure it's all the way in. And you take your big snap ring. You gotta fit that in there to hold that in. Best way just to get it started somewhere. Pushing that rubber boot in a little bit so I can get this started in a groove and work my way around. There she goes. It started there. All the way around, but it's started, so I'm just going to work my way, tapping it into the groove. Sometimes pushing it in. Turn the axle a bit. All right. So you can see that snap ring is engaged now from the difference of the edge of the rubber boot to the ring edge. It's a real pain in the ass, just lots of, once you get it started, just tapping and working your way around. You can see I was hitting it here and there. Just make sure you don't hit your screwdriver into your boot and poke a hole in it, or you'll be real pissed. But it's back in there. I will lift this back up, slide the axle back in there, drop the control arm down, bolt that back up, and tighten up that 27 mil axle nut, put the cotter pin in it, wheel back on, done.